Shalom, all praise, honor, and glory is due to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, and honors to you, sincere Achamat, that is continuing to labor in his work, carrying on that legacy of pushing his truth. Now I want to entitle this sitting, The Trail of Tears, Gad in Alabama. Because when you go into the whole history of the Trail of Tears, it basically stems from this devil, Andrew Jackson, signing that Indian Removal Act in 1830, which basically was a campaign to push Gad out of this whole region, all right, the Southeast, Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi, Florida, and in particular Alabama. And why is that? Because this was, out of the whole, landscape of America, the resources was great here, all right, as far as farming, all right, the water, the air quality, right here in Alabama. And even to this day, the best quality of water comes from Alabama, all right? I think it's only second to Colorado or something like that. And if you ever been through Alabama or, traveled through Alabama or came to Alabama, the sign that lets you know you're entering Alabama, it says Alabama the Beautiful, all right? These devils deemed it as that because you got a lot of pine trees. And even, for the most part, the air quality is still good in Alabama, even though you got these devils with the chemtrails all over the place. But a lot of Gad was right here in Alabama, man. All right, you had the Choctaw Indians, the Chickasaw, all right, Eufaula, Tuskegee. And even when you come down here, all right, it's a lot of tourist attraction places where these memorials are set up, like the Soto Caverns. All this right here in Alabama. There's a lot of memorials left dealing with Gad here in Alabama, all right? And the Most High set all that up in the spirit because he knew that this truth was going to come out and going to condemn these devils, man. All right? So basically, I got some information queued up that I want to go into that I think you might find interesting. And it's really just breaking down the thought process of these devils, man, and proving that they are the devil, okay? And that they deserve to go into slavery and be rounded up and exterminated. Introduction. At the beginning of the 1830s, nearly 125,000 Native Americans lived on millions of acres of land in Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, North Carolina, and Florida. Land their ancestors had occupied and cultivated for generations. By the end of the decade, very few natives remained anywhere in the southeastern United States, working on behalf of white settlers who wanted to grow cotton on the Indians' land. The federal government forced them to leave their homelands and walk thousands of miles to a specially designated Indian territory across the Mississippi River. This difficult and sometimes journey is known as the Trail of Tears. So you see why we call this man the devil, all right? So-called white man. Here it is. This was not his land to begin with, and he came over and looked at the land, all right, and saw where the land can benefit him. He wanted to grow his cotton, all right. Basically, he made the natives pick up and leave, all right. This whole southeast region, which the article tell you it was cultivated for generations, all right, by the people, man, all right, by our people, all right. And the scriptures tell you about removing the landmark, okay, which this devil is guilty of all the laws that's in the scriptures, man. All right. Now reading on, it says the Indian problem, okay? Which you devils got some nerves, all right? You looked at the Native American Indians as a problem, all right? Here it is, they on their own land, and they're a problem for you, all right? Really, you was the problem, man, all right? You brung your wicked ass over here to the Americas, man, all right? You was the problem. You didn't have nowhere else to call home because you're bastards, all right? So it says the Indian problem White Americans, particularly those who lived on the western frontier, often feared and resented the Native Americans they encountered. To them, American Indians seemed to be an unfamiliar, alien people who occupied land that white settlers wanted and believed they deserved. All right? See this devil? All right? They looked at the natives as unfamiliar and alien people, all right, which lines up with the scriptures that the Israelites are a peculiar people, all right? And it said these devils, you know, resented the natives, all right, and they resented them because they wanted the land, all right? They wanted the land down in the southeast, which was great for farming, you know. The water was good. You had a lot of timber, trees, good for making homes. All right, so this devil, all right, and his covetousness, because that's all that was with him coveting someone else's possessions, all right, which is against the law. This devil resented the natives because they felt like they deserved this land, man. All right, reading on, it says some officials in the early years of the American Republic, such as President George Washington, believed that the best way to solve this Indian problem was simply to civilize the Native Americans, all right? And that's these devils, okay? They feel like they the most high, all right? And the way they civilize you, according to them, is by setting up certain laws and decrees for you to follow, which is basically making you subject to them. All right, the goal of this civilization campaign was to make Native Americans as much like white Americans as possible by encouraging the convert to Christianity. And really, they said to make the natives as much as Americans as possible. It means making them wicked. All right, to make them wicked, and you see that even to this very day. All right, all these jakes that fall after the so-called white man is basically you're holding hands. All right, you're making a covenant with the devil, and that's what the devil set out to do. All right. Your enemy, the devil, all right, he's like a roaring lion seeing who he can devour, all right? Devour. Reading that again, the goal of this civilization campaign was to make Native Americans as much like white Americans as possible by encouraging them to convert to Christianity, learn to speak and read English, and adopt European-style economic practices such as the individual ownership of land and other property, include in some instances in the South, African slaves in the southeastern United States, many Choctaw, Chickasaw, Seminole, Creek, and Cherokee people embraced these customs and became known as the 5 civilized tribes. All right. It said, did you know Indian removal took place in the northern states as well? In Illinois and Wisconsin, for example, the Bloody Black Hawk War in 1832 opened to white settlement millions of acres of land that had belonged to the Sauk, Fox, and other natives. So, hey, basically, man, you devils is condemning yourselves, man. All right? Which Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shah preserved all this history. You know, that's why the scriptures say he should make their tongue to fall on themselves, all right? This is a form of that, all right? This information coming out is condemning the so-called white man, all right? They're found guilty, man. Their own actions condemn them, man. So when we haul them off and take them into slavery, it's going to be justified.